let's just go ahead and open it up for questions for Coach.
Nobody wants to ask the first question.
What's up, Dave?
How are you?
Great. How are you?
Great. Would you address a little bit, guys who are coming back for like a sixth year and just relationships that you've gotten to develop with those guys, fifth and sixth year guys?
Yeah, I mean, really, that's what makes this profession so fun, Dave. I mean, it goes way beyond the football stuff, especially, in a lot of cases, these are men, young men that have graduated from Wake Forest and have done all the right things off the field and on the field. So the coaching and the teaching is really just the finer points of the game of football rather than so many life lessons that you're giving them their first 2.5 years.
And I know there are some who probably come in. I think Dave Clausen has alluded to battles you may have had with one or two of these guys, but the maturation that they go through over those 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I mean,
when it finally maybe kicks in for them,
we got to take that sandpaper out a little bit and smooth it all out and get them going. And again, the maturation process goes well beyond the field. And when you get the finished product or the privilege to work with them now that they've grown into the young men that they are, it's very rewarding and it's a lot of fun.
Thanks.
Hey, Coach, from a recruiting standpoint, obviously y'all are hoping the dead period's lifted by June. Just what has it been like for y'all as a coaching staff planning and trying to get everything in order so that way when it opens, y'all can hit the ground running?
That's a great question. We've gotten so many Zooms and text messages and direct messages and all that other stuff. It'll be nice to have direct contact with some of these people and get a chance to meet them face to face. But, in the heat of battle and recruiting, it's always intense and it continues to be so. And I think the big thing is always having the next guy up and next guy ready if you're not going to get the number one guy that you want. And so you have to pay attention and you have to do your background check and you have to be thorough to make sure that not only you're on top of the first round draft pick, so to speak, that you have the right second round draft pick that can become a first round draft pick.
Can you tell there's a little bit of anxiety from the players' perspective trying to get on campus after last year not having those camps and those visits?
Yeah, I think there's an impatient level on a lot of them that want offers that don't have them yet that probably will have offers once they come and compete, Matt, at camp. And those are the guys you want, though, guys that are going to come and compete and earn that scholarship. And then the other part of it is there are schools that are putting pressure on young men to make early decisions. And I'm sure that's very hard on both them and their families without having physically actually walked to campus or gotten a chance to meet their potentially future coaches face to face.
Dave, as a follow-up to that, what percentage of guys in your group right now, and I say in your group, I kind of mean the entire team, what percentage of those guys do you think actually camped at Wake during their recruiting experience?
That's a great question, Les. I would say not half, but certainly a third would be realistic. Maybe a little more than a third, actually. I mean, that's how we got Boogie. We didn't offer Boogie on film. He was a stand-up outside linebacker, a flex tight end, and then we worked him out, and it was pretty apparent to me very quickly that this is the guy we want. We did the same thing. Jacquez Williams was the same way, and you can go on and on and on with great examples. Asang Bassi? We weren't sure he was fast enough. He came and competed, and there was no questions after that. Those are all guys that have done a great job live in camp that we would not have offered had we had that experience to have them come and camp with us.
Dave, it was once said that you guys needed to find the boogie behind Boogie, and without making you tell me who might be a first or second round draft pick on this defensive line, who's kind of stepping into that role as the primary pass rusher for you guys?
Connor, it's something we're still looking for. We've had glimpses, and our production has not been where we wanted it this past season with those guys. And I'm still not completely satisfied, but we're working in a very good direction. Rondell Bothright has dropped weight and become, I think, a half a step quicker and lighter on his feet. Ja'Cory has had, as of late, some better reps in practice, and Josheen Davis has really come on. And those right now, because we've had some guys nicked up, those are the three guys that have really had success. Josheen really has caught our eye, though.
Jasheen's name has come up with Coach Clausen, and he came up with Rondell yesterday. Could you see this coming where last year he just got thrown into such a difficult situation with coming and getting 5 spring practices and then the craziness of the summer and the fall camp that you really could see that once he got some stability there, he would jump out like that?
He wasn't here last spring. He came here in July, excuse me. But yeah, Connor, I mean, he won player of the week on the scout team at least twice, maybe 3 times. And anytime the offensive coaches are grabbing you after practice, hey, this kid's really going to be good, or this kid's giving us a great look, you got a chance of being something special. And I remember getting that from Willie Yarbe all the time when I first got here. I remember glimpses of Boogie that come and talk to us about. I mean, so yeah, Josheen flashed quite a bit in the fall. We started to play him, and then unfortunately, the first game we were going to play him a good bit against Louisville, he hurt his shoulder, or he probably would have played 2 games a good amount. But his motor is really good, and he's still learning the game. But the way he approaches things, the way he finishes things, how hard he goes, those things are really encouraging.
Circling back a little bit to Rondell, he mentioned also that really recovering from the ACL was making a difference this spring. Did you know that he would be able to kind of take a step when he got further away from the recovery there?
Oh yeah. I mean, they come back in 9 months. Just it's been in my experience until it's over a year mark. They're not the same yet. They're not where they were. And now, now we're probably at 14 months, 15 months now since the surgery. And I think losing some weight, we had him playing some 3 techniques, so we had him gain weight 2 years ago. But I think dropping the weight, and then like you're saying, Connor, just continue to rehab and get his strength up and the stability of his knee and all that stuff certainly has helped.
What kind of dividends has it paid having the extra bodies just in the spring and having more guys to work with? I imagine on the lines of scrimmage, that's where you can really see those gains, when you can go 3 huddles and have more matchups.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And we've got a really, really experienced and quality offensive line to go against. I mean, there's some really good players over there, and they're well coached, and it's been a great competitive spring. And like you're saying, Kelly, it allows you to get a look at 8, 10 guys rather than 5, 6, 7 guys. And those numbers, I think, on both sides of the lines have really allowed us to get more quality reps, and guys are getting better every day.
Dave, can you give us a sense of your day-to-day responsibilities in recruiting, like how often you're on the phone or how many phone calls you're making? And I see Kevin Higgins walk in the neighborhood and his earbuds are always in, and I can barely say hi to him because he's always on the phone. And so I wonder what kind of commitment that is for you guys.
Well, it's twofold. You have a recruiting territory. So my area, I have John Hunter and I share the state of Georgia. So, if we're recruiting kids in my area in Georgia, I'm involved. But you're probably most involved in the point guy when you're recruiting a guy that plays your position. We've taken as many as 4 guys in the defensive line. Those are the days where you have no time to think or blink. Right now, we're taking a small class because we have good numbers in the defensive line. And, we've got a good amount of young defensive linemen in the program. So to answer your question, though, very quickly, you're usually saying good morning to your top guys, whether it's direct message or texting, as well as anything going on in their life you want to address, from birthdays to basketball games to football games now, which normally, obviously that's not the case normally, to how their ankle feels when they rolled it the night before in practice and so on and so forth. And you try and get them on the phone at least once a week, as well as a Zoom once a week. And the nice thing about the Zoom is, you try to include, whether it's their mentors, their grandparents, their aunt and uncles, their parents. So once a week with each kid with a Zoom, once a week with a phone call, daily communication, whether it's texting or direct messaging on Twitter or Facebooking, whatever, the guys kind of lend themselves towards.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of discipline for you guys to have to do that on a daily basis, which I'm not so sure people on the outside know.
Yeah, my wife would be able to tell you that, though.
I could ask Brian on Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. But and again, for some guys right now, we're planning on taking quite a few defensive backs. So those guys they're dealing with even more numbers than I am doing the same thing. It's not like you're recruiting one or two guys when you have one scholarship available. Number one, you're trying to evaluate kids as people, and how they carry themselves. I mean, you're not walking into Wake Forest and walking on campus and fitting in unless you're the right type of person. And we need people that are no different than our students. They're student athletes, but they've got to be students as well. And then you try and get a feel for the character and what makes a young man tick, as well as who's going to be most involved in their decision. So the point I'm trying to get at is, you're trying to get one great one, you're probably recruiting 6 pretty darn good ones and getting a feel for who you think the great or special ones are. Boy, this is easy, guys. Nothing else?
Now, Dave, I want to circle back and ask one more time about Rondell. He told us he was at Pro Day and saw what Boogie did. And obviously Boogie kind of followed in Duke Ejiofor's footsteps, playing with him for a couple of years. Do you get the sense that Rondell, when he gets everything underneath him, do you believe that he has the potential to kind of be like that next guy on the defensive line?
I don't know, Les. That's a heck of a tag to put on a guy. You're talking about a 275-pound man that just ran in the high 4.5s, low 4.6s, and had over 11 sacks his junior year. And we're 10 days into spring ball. So I'd hate to label something. You're kind of waiting for the proof in the pudding, and that's what BB&T, or Truist Field is for. We've got to document that stuff on game day. And so I'm really excited with his success. He needs to continue developing. And I think he's in a great path to be a very good player in the ACC. But to put those type of, I'm just not ready to do that. And nothing would please me more or less to do that. He's had a very productive spring. He's had a very good spring. He's done a great job with his body. But, I've been doing this for a long time, and I can give you 2 names, and you just mentioned both of them. So I'd like to tell you, I got a, it's like the old money tree your parents used to mock you when you wanted gas money. We do not have we do not have a tree of draftable defensive linemen, but I think we're trending in a great direction. And I think, probably mid-season or after the first third of the fall, we'd have a much better feel for things.
And then I guess in general, Dave, do you feel like with what you're seeing in the spring, that despite losing Boogie, you may end up in the fall having more greater depth and more playable guys on your defensive line than perhaps you did last year?
That's a great question. I feel like Ja'Cory, the last week or so, Ja'Cory's taken some steps. I think Rondell's taken quite a few steps, as you've alluded to and asked about. I think Josheen Davis, the guy that people weren't talking about, and unfortunately he got hurt, but he's coming back tomorrow. Kendron Wayman's a name you probably haven't heard much about, but he really showed promise for a short time there. So yeah, I think you have numbers. We have a few guys that are hurt, like I said, with Royce and with Isaiah Chaney, but also we have a grad transfer. For the inside guys, we've got a good amount of guys, barring injury and anything else like that. We've got probably 6 playable guys now. Playable and production are different conversations. There's guys you win because of, and then there's other guys that are just a part of playing hard. And, you know, you need to have guys that are a big reason that you are winning. And that comes down to producing and making plays and competing as hard as you can. And that's the one thing that Boogie was special with, is how hard he played.
Dave, I think one of these springs, I think it might have been the one after Duke and Wendell left, that you told me that sometimes it was better for a defensive line to not have that one standout guy, because, you know, if you have 4 good guys that can win matchups,
Right.
they're coming from all different directions. When do you get the sense that you have a defensive line like that instead of having a defensive line with one guy like a Boogie that you can count on to win, you know, every 3rd and long situation?
It's a heck of a question. We're definitely ahead of where we were a year ago in that category to answer. First and foremost, we're winning more, but we're still not where I'd like us to be. But you know, it's a great competition every day, and we're getting better because of the competition of, you know, we've gone against a really good offensive line. So it's been a really good challenge for us. I think the kids have met it head on. I think we've competed well. Again, we're 12 practices into it. You know, the first half of it, you're just kind of installing. Now we're finally getting into team situations where it's down and distance, and you're not just calling offenses and calling defenses, but it's all set up like a game. So we're starting to get a better feel for that. Tomorrow's a huge day for us, as is next Saturday. I do think we're heading in the right direction to have more guys that can produce and will produce. And we'll soon see, you know, again, going against a Zach Tom or Javante Nash or a Loic Naya. I mean, it's created some really good competition. And, you know, you win some, you lose some, and you hope you learn a lot.
I take it tomorrow and next Saturday are going to be kind of the 2 bigger scrimmages of the spring. It's typically the way the calendar works out.
Yeah. And if not, you know, at least situational things where we'll kind of let the kids play out a short yardage, a 3rd and long, and see who's going to stand out and get us off the field. Exactly.
How would you feel about going out over the summer in terms of doing evaluations for recruiting? There's been some discussion about having coaches be able to go out at least for a few days in the summer. Is that something you'd be in favor of? Is it concerning?
No, I wouldn't be in favor. At some point, I'd like to see my wife and children, to be honest with you. You know, we're out most of the month of May. We're out most of the month of January and December. And then we have our adopted children, of course, your players, that things go well beyond just days that you're practicing, because things come up in their lives also. So, I mean, you know, we're lucky that we're in a part of the country that most teams have spring practice, high schools I'm talking about. So there's a really good opportunity to have them go out and evaluate those guys. And, you know, of course, you have your camp opportunities to then evaluate them live as well. I just don't know where the cutoff point is at some point. There's got to be some cutoff point. But that's just one man's opinion.
Anything else for Coach, guys? All right. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks,
All right, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave, you too.